Good evening. Welcome to Kenya News Update today. I'm your host, and tonight we're diving deep into a story that connects Detroit's industrial might with global technological shifts. Ford Motor Company, the iconic American automaker founded by Henry Ford, is making a massive $5 billion bet on its electric future. But this isn't just another EV announcement. Ford is directly following the path blazed by Tesla's controversial Cybertruck, adopting a specific electrical technology that could redefine the next generation of electric pickups. This move comes at a critical time for the global auto industry, with electric vehicle adoption rates fluctuating and consumer confidence being tested. We'll examine what this $5 billion investment means, why Ford is chasing Tesla's lead, and the broader implications for markets worldwide, including right here in Kenya. But first, let's set the stage with some crucial context. The global electric vehicle market is at a crossroads. After years of explosive growth, we're seeing signs of a slowdown. Major automakers are pulling back on some ambitious targets, while others, like Ford, are doubling down on specific technologies. Ford's announcement specifically centers on what's called a 48-volt electrical architecture. This system, which Tesla first commercialized in the US on its angular Cybertruck, moves beyond the traditional 12-volt systems that have powered car accessories for decades. The higher voltage allows for thinner, lighter wiring, which saves weight and cost. For a large electric pickup truck, where every kilogram of weight impacts range, this is a significant engineering advantage. Ford claims this shift is part of its next-generation universal electric vehicle platform, a flexible foundation designed to underpin multiple future models. The goal is clear: to build electric vehicles that are more efficient, cheaper to produce, and competitive with the likes of Tesla and Rivian. But this $5 billion gamble is happening against a complex economic backdrop. Let's look at the numbers. Ford's overall investment in electrification totals a staggering $19.5 billion. However, the company's electric vehicle division, known as Model E, has been losing money. In the last quarter, it reported an operating loss of $1.3 billion. To achieve profitability, Ford has delayed some EV launches and is now focusing on this new, more cost-effective platform. The hope is that the 48-volt system and other innovations will help slash costs. Ford's CEO, Jim Farley, has stated they aim to reduce the cost of their next-generation EVs by up to 40% compared to current models like the Mustang Mach-E. That could make a significant difference in the showroom. Now, let's bring in some perspective. We have two analysts joining us tonight. First, from Nairobi, automotive industry consultant Wanjiku Mwangi. Wanjiku, a $5 billion bet on a single platform. Is this a wise move for Ford, or is it a case of too little, too late as they try to catch Tesla? And from London, technology strategist David Chen. David, the 48-volt architecture seems like a technical detail, but Ford is highlighting it as a game changer. Why is this specific technology so important for the future of electric trucks? Wanjiku, let's start with you. From an African market perspective, does this technological arms race in pickups matter? Wanjiku Mwangi, thank you. It matters immensely, but perhaps not in the way you might think. Here in Kenya and across much of Africa, the pickup truck is not a lifestyle vehicle. It is a crucial tool for commerce, agriculture, and transport in rugged terrain. The promise of an electric pickup with lower operating costs is very attractive. However, the current price point of EVs like the Cybertruck or even Ford's own F-150 Lightning is completely out of reach. Ford's stated goal of a 40% cost reduction is critical. If they can bring a capable electric pickup to market at a price even 25% lower than today's offerings, it could begin to change the calculus for businesses. But the infrastructure challenge remains enormous. We need reliable, widespread charging, especially along major transport corridors. Without that, even the most advanced 48-volt system is just a novelty. David Chen, I'd like to build on that. Wanjiku is absolutely right about the practical challenges. From a pure engineering standpoint, the shift to 48 volts is a fundamental enabler. It's not just about thinner wires. This architecture supports far more powerful onboard computers, advanced driver assistance systems, and new features we haven't even imagined yet. Tesla understood this. The Cybertruck is essentially a rolling computer, and its 48-volt system is its nervous system. For Ford to compete, they need that same digital backbone. This $5 billion investment isn't just for a new truck, it's to build a software-defined vehicle platform. The risk for Ford is execution. Tesla designs its vehicles from the ground up as integrated systems. Ford, with over a century of mechanical engineering excellence, is now trying to reinvent itself as a software company. That cultural and technical shift is where the real $5 billion gamble lies. Host, fascinating points. David, you mentioned software-defined vehicles. This leads us to a broader, almost philosophical question about the role of technology in our lives. While Ford and Tesla battle over volts in software, we're seeing another, quieter technological revolution unfold, particularly in mental health care. Our second story tonight comes from Nigeria, where a severe shortage of qualified therapists is creating a vacuum. And into that vacuum, artificial intelligence chatbots are stepping in. A recent report highlights how Nigerians, especially young people, are turning to AI for mental health advice, counseling, and support. In one case, a 23-year-old woman named Joy Adeboye, facing relentless harassment from a stalker, found herself using a chatbot in the middle of the night when human help was unavailable. She described the experience as, quote, "At 2 a.m., it feels like someone's there." This is a powerful testament to the need, but it also raises profound ethical and regulatory questions. With an estimated 75% of Africans lacking access to any form of mental health care, AI presents a scalable, affordable solution. Proponents argue these tools can provide immediate, stigma-free support. However, critics warn of the dangers, unvetted advice, data privacy concerns, and the lack of human empathy in crisis situations. There are calls for much tighter regulation, but in a region where healthcare resources are stretched so thin, can authorities afford to restrict access to any form of support? Let's look at some statistics that illustrate the scale of the mental health challenge in Africa. The treatment gap for mental disorders exceeds 80% in many countries. In Nigeria specifically, there are fewer than 200 psychiatrists for a population of over 200 million. That's a staggering ratio. Meanwhile, smartphone penetration and internet access are growing rapidly, making digital solutions increasingly viable. This creates a classic dilemma of innovation versus safety. David Chen, as a technology strategist, where do you stand on this? Is the proliferation of mental health chatbots in underserved regions a net positive or a dangerous experiment? David Chen, it's both. It's a necessary experiment born out of desperation. The statistics you cited are not just numbers, they represent millions of people suffering in silence. When the alternative is nothing, even an imperfect AI chatbot can be a lifeline. The key phrase from your report is, "At 2 a.m. crisis doesn't keep office hours." These tools provide 24/7 availability. However, we cannot be naive. These are not therapists, they are language models predicting the next word. They can hallucinate, give harmful advice, and they lack the nuanced understanding of human trauma. The solution isn't to ban them, but to urgently develop what we might call guardrails for the soul. This means open source auditing of these AI models, clear disclaimers about their limitations, and perhaps most importantly, integrating them with human oversight networks. The goal should be to use AI as a triage and support tool that connects people to human professionals when necessary, not as a replacement. Wanji ku Mwanji, I have to agree with David's point about it being born of desperation. Here in Kenya, we see similar trends. The pressure on young people is immense: economic uncertainty, social media, family expectations. The demand for counseling far outstrips supply. I've spoken to developers in Nairobi who are creating Swahili language mental health chatbots. Their intention is noble, to provide a first line of defense. But as David says, the risks are real. We need a regulatory framework that encourages innovation while protecting users. Perhaps a certification system for AI health tools, similar to how we approve medicines. But this requires our governments to move at a pace they are not accustomed to. Technology evolves in months, bureaucracy moves in years. Host, this tension between rapid technological adoption and cautious regulation is a global theme. And it brings us back to Ford and the automotive industry. A modern vehicle, especially an electric one with a 48-volt architecture, is essentially a data center on wheels. It collects immense amounts of information about its performance, its location, and even its driver. The business model is shifting from just selling cars to selling software subscriptions and services enabled by that data. This raises its own set of privacy and security concerns. Who owns the data from your electric pickup? Could your driving patterns be sold to insurance companies? These are questions that regulators in the US, Europe, and indeed here in Africa will need to grapple with as these advanced vehicles enter our markets. Now, let's pivot to another critical issue highlighted in our news research, one that underscores how technology and traditional challenges intersect: the ongoing crisis of snakebite envenoming in Nigeria. The tragic death of a young woman named Ifunanya Nwanjin has brought renewed attention to this often overlooked public health emergency. Snake bites claim thousands of lives in sub-Saharan Africa every year, and Nigeria is a hotspot. Victims often face a double tragedy, the bite itself, and then the crippling cost of treatment. Antivenom is expensive, scarce, and sometimes ineffective against the specific species in a region. This is a problem where technology, particularly in logistics, distribution, and perhaps even in the development of more universal antivenoms, could play a transformative role. It's a stark reminder that while we debate the merits of 48-volt systems and AI therapists, there are life and death challenges that also demand innovation and investment. Let's consider the economic dimensions of all these stories together. Ford's $5 billion EV bet is a reflection of where capital is flowing in the global north, towards high-tech, sustainable transportation. Meanwhile, in the global south, investment is desperately needed in basic healthcare infrastructure, antivenom supply chains, and digital literacy to safely harness tools like AI. The question for the coming decade is how these streams of investment and innovation can converge for mutual benefit. Can the software expertise developed for electric vehicles improve medical supply chains? Can AI built for mental health triage be adapted for remote diagnosis of conditions like snakebite? The potential is there. To conclude tonight's deep dive, Ford's strategic follow of Tesla into 48-volt technology is a significant moment in the auto industry's electric transition. It signals a move towards more integrated, software-driven vehicles. Parallel to this, the rise of AI mental health chatbots in Nigeria reveals a world-adapting technology to fill critical human gaps, for better or worse. Both stories are about leveraging technology to solve pressing problems, one of economic competition and sustainability, the other of human health and accessibility. They remind us that innovation is never neutral. Its impact is shaped by the context into which it is deployed. For Kenya and Africa, the lesson is to engage proactively with these trends. It must develop the regulatory savvy to manage the risks of AI, while also creating the business environment to benefit from new technologies like advanced EVs, whether through local assembly, software development, or maintenance services. The future is being built on a foundation of volts, bytes, and data. Our task is to ensure it's a future that works for everyone. Thank you for joining us. Subscribe to Kenya News Update today for more in-depth analysis of the stories shaping our world.